writing professionally now since 2018. Writing in totality since 2011. It just took me 7 years to become a professional. So for anyone who's trying to become a writer, that's something to keep in mind. It can take a while. But I write for television. I've written on TV shows, Spinning Out on Netflix and The Wilds on Amazon Prime. Also, I've sold some shows that I hope to get up and running in the near future. I write movies as well. I had a spec script sell by the name of Shadow Force in 2019 that wrapped production last year. So hopefully that'll be coming out sometime in the near future. And then, of course, I write comic books as well. I write the Icon and Rocket series with Reggie Hudlin. And I'm currently writing Icon vs. Hardware right now. Static Shock was my introduction into Milestone with the Saturday morning cartoon. So he will always stand out to me. But there's also a Hardware comic book written by Dwayne McDuffie that I read as an adult that really stands out too. It's issue number 8, and it's called Rest in Peace. And in it, Hardware is living through his own nightmare in which people he's killed in the past are back from the dead and attacking him. But then he's led through important moments in his life by himself as Curtis, as the two of them argue about who they really are. Then there's an Oprah show, OPRA, so Oprah without the H.
Yeah.
Where all of his exes are the audience members. And then some more stuff after that. All of it is like very, very interesting. And one of the reasons I really like is because I've found in writing comics, with them coming out once a month, that there's a lot of pressure to kind of always be moving the plot forward to keep readers interested. But Dwayne used, an entire issue to develop Hardware's character. And by the end, Hardware makes the decision to change from seeking vengeance to seeking justice. And it's just, it's amazing. My favorite part of Milestone is the people of Milestone. Without the people who created it and the people who gave me this opportunity now, I wouldn't be writing comics. So, I'm forever grateful to them. Of course, I love the characters, and, black superheroes who were also created by black writers is very important, which isn't always the case. And so that's one of my favorite parts about it as well. So I would say the Milestone Returns, Infinite Edition 0 would be the perfect comic to start at. It's got a little bit of everyone, a little Static, a little Hardware, a little Icon and Rocket, as well as Duo. It's got the Big Bang. It kind of catches you up to speed really quickly. You go off and read, each character's first season. So it's kind of, the perfect place to start, and then there you just choose which characters' seasons you want to go read after that. Yeah, it's a great question. I think the current Icon is way less conservative than the original Icon. It still has some of that in him. Whereas Hardware is much more radical. He believes in doing what is just and fair by any means necessary. Both have had to deal with unfair circumstances, but while Icon is able to exercise patience, and him waiting to eventually get back to his planet, once Hardware reaches his breaking point, he's about taking action immediately. That's why when Hardware gets access to a time machine, he only briefly considers the ramifications before doing what he thinks is right to fix things in the past. Icon has a much broader view of the world, with him being someone, from another planet who travels the galaxy. While Hardware is much more limited in that, Earth is the end all be all for him. And throughout our Worlds Collide event series, we'll see how Icon came from a utopia and the steps that Hardware takes to try and create one of his own, which of course leads to, conflict between the two. He knows that he has a home planet elsewhere, that a lot of this stuff may just even seem trivial to him. The world is so much bigger than, fuel conflicts, differences. And so that's a part of what Rocket helps him do, is to care again. I'd say the transition was pretty seamless. For one, we're calling the arcs seasons, with each issue feeling like an episode in a TV show. And in both scripts, it's pretty much made up of just action blocks and dialogue. The big difference is that in TV, I can write, he punches him in the face, then kicks him in the stomach on one line. But in a comic, that would have to be separated into 2 panels, so you can see each action. And I would say there was definitely a learning curve to formatting the panels, to make sure every page isn't like over stuff. Like earlier issues that I worked on, I was like doing 6 panels every page, realizing that like you can give the story room to breathe and also allow certain scenes more real estate, so that the artist has can play with what that looks like. So I would say less of a writer's block and more just figuring out how to put the puzzle together with the panels. There's definitely been some issues where I get to the end and then I go all the way back through and like resort the panels, and like also trying to make sure it's a page turner, so they're like cliffhangers that would be better served as leave it at the 4th panel and then take the rest over to the next. But always trying to think of the audience's experience of reading it. I think Rocket has way more agency than most other sidekicks do. Rocket is the one that convinces Icon to come out of his shell and become a superhero. And I don't think that's the case for most other sidekicks. The story a lot of times is also kind of centered around Rocket. So as you saw in season 1, it's about the actions they take on her behalf. Icon advises her that it may not be the best way to do it, but ultimately they do it because she wants to, and then there's a lesson to learn after the fact. It consequentially brings back someone from Icon's past, but they're only on this track because of Rocket. It's even like, I would say she's less of a sidekick and more on the same level as Icon than you see in most duos, like a Batman and Robin. So I don't have a specific playlist for writing Icon and Rocket. I will say that my favorite time to write, whether it's movies, TV, or comics, is in the morning. And during that time, I'll listen to meditation music.
Okay.
And because writing is like a form of meditation for me. But when I come back later in the day, I'll listen to rap, because it's like in the morning I'm trying to create kind of a lot of times from scratch, and then once I'm in a rewriting period, or I at least know where the story is headed, I can listen to the type of music that I usually listen to. I will say, if Icon had a playlist, I think it'd be full of classical music and jazz. And if Rocket had a playlist, I think she would listen to Ice Spice, and I think she would listen to Flo Milli too.
I love
another rapper that I like. Um, I think we kind of talked about it a little bit. I think he's motivated to be a superhero because of Raquel, and he's inspired by everything he's seen her do throughout the season 1 arc. For someone like her who's had the odds stacked against her whole life, living in circumstances that are a result of a flaw in our society, for her to still think people are worth saving has a big impact on Icon. And what he says to her at the end of the season, that they have to outlast evil, I think he's talking to himself as well, reminding himself that he can't sit on the sidelines and only care about, returning to his planet. Ultimately, Icon knows as an outsider, and based on where he came from, that at the end of the day, humanity is going to have to change from the inside out for there to be real progress that sticks. To lead with love. But until then, yes, it's about outlasting the evil physically. I think it's a mix of both. As you mentioned, sometimes reflecting modern times inadvertently and unfortunately become timeless because the issues still persist. Like the second issue of the original run touches on police brutality, something that's still a thing, unfortunately. In season 1, we touched on drugs, which we hope in the future, will no longer be timely. I think what we're doing with Icon versus Hardware and the Time Machine deals more in themes and would more likely be considered timeless because of that. Some of my favorites are definitely in issue 4 of season 1, the battle in Paris Island. The consequences from their actions come, right into Rocket's neighborhood, and they're fighting the alien, all across it, and they're in the barber shop, a bullet going over a baby's crib, like all of that stuff is like definitely one of my favorites. And getting the panel, like getting the artwork back, I'm surprised every time. I don't go into it thinking like, oh, it should look like this. Like, I allow them to do what they do, and it's really like one of my favorite things about writing comics is getting those emails and seeing how they interpreted it and, seeing what they did with it. Because in my experience, in writing TV, so far it'll be like we write the episode and then 2 years later it's on TV. And with writing a movie, it's very possible you never see it on screen. And so the experience of being able to see the words come to life within a matter of weeks is like it always keeps me going. So I'm excited to keep telling stories that are hopefully compelling. I'm excited for the Milestone initiative to continue breaking new writers and artists into the comic book industry. And I'm very, very hopeful that these characters will get their just due in the form of live action movies. So I hope that James Gunn recognizes he has a diamond in the rough in Milestone and includes it in the future of his DC plan. Obviously, I hope the Static movie that's already in development now sees the light of day. And I'm ready to write an Icon and Rocket movie. I'm just waiting on the call. So yeah, those are the things that I'm excited about.